Viewing of LMP Thunder Series here on this Thursday night, the 15th of June. We're fixing to get underway with 8 furious heats between Paul Woosley, Bruce Bullington, Tom Payton, and Glenn Burton here tonight. Kind of a short night, but I'll tell you what, it's hot here at Lanes Raceway, and I don't know how the weather's going to change things or how it's going to make anything different, but I'll tell you what, it's a little humid in here. Been slacking a little bit when it comes to cleaning the air conditioner. Went out there earlier today just on the outside air unit by the coil and noticed that it looked like a grizzly bear's fur, so I had to go ahead and clean that, and I'm hoping it's going to start cooling down in here a little bit. But currently right now this thing is hot up in here. We're currently probably about 78, 79 degrees up in here. But the fans over there, you can't see it to the right side of your screen there, but the fans going live there on the right side of the track for the racers to keep them nice and cool. We just freshly glued the track underneath the dead man's corner. You can see the wood there in the bottom right hand corner of your screen to help prop the track up a little bit. Some of our track marshals and everybody else that comes in here have been leaning a little bit on the track, causing it to kind of sag a little there. So we put a piece of wood up there. The guys say that it's running a lot better there. Put glue there right before the S turns and some right at the horseshoe. These guys have already been starting to break it down. Going to make an announcement here real quick for the guys and then take the microphone out there, and we're going to start lining these cars up ready to race. All right, racers, if you will, come get your cars out of the shop here and get them lined up. We're ready to go. Paul Woosley on red, Bruce Bullington on white, Tom Payton on green, and Glenn Burton on orange. Give them a few moments. I'm going to go out there and put this microphone out so that you guys can hear the cars and maybe do some interviews with the guys later on and get the lights on for them. And I'll be right back here with you. All right, hopefully you heard those interviews there that we just had. All right, racers, watch your lights. Here we go, this first round robin, 1 of 8. Paul Woosley, red. Bruce Bullington, white. Tom Payton, green. Glenn Burton, orange. 4 lights, we're dropping and we're going green. Right out of the gate, freshly glued track here. We can see everybody kind of bunching up. There on the inside red lane, we see Paul Woosley saying he's going to finish last today, but so far he's keeping it hooked up. Him and Bruce Bullington there kind of falling behind the Mazzetti of Tom Payton and the green Audi of Glenn Burton. Now on the inside, coming up on the red, we see Paul Woosley taking Glenn Burton's second position, now pushing Glenn Burton into third position. The Mazzetti running really strong as we see these two family members, Tom and Paul, getting closer and closer with one another. Seems like Paul's kind of just keeping his balance and his pace there on red lane as we see him not trying to make any kind of aggressive move in hopes to keep both of these runners running as hard as they can. Coming up, maybe possibly on our first lap here shortly, as we see Bruce Bullington there kind of falling behind a little bit there on white. We see the Mazzetti of Tom Payton fresh back out of a start and a track call here as we get a car underneath the bridge. Currently, Tom Payton 17 laps, Paul Woosley 17 laps, Bruce Bullington 16 laps, and Glenn Burton 16 laps. Back live again, we see Bruce Bullington able to get a jump out there in front of the guys, getting him a couple car lengths here, but Tom Payton pushing really hard. Tom's been working the past 2 days on his blue Mazzetti, being a little bit modest, I think, on how well that car is tuned up and rolling. It is a Mazzetti and a Maserati getting a little bit of a bump going on there in the S portions of the track here. My wife quite a bit away as we get the track call to get that car back on. This puts him back into third position, but just by the hair. We see Glenn Burton there allowing Tom to go ahead and go. Glenn Burton there right behind him, though, on orange. We get another yellow flag, possibly a car underneath the bridge on the other side. So right now out in the lead, we got Paul Woosley on red lane, followed by Tom Payton, as we just had a wreck there. Bruce Bullington underneath the bridge on white, able to let them get the pass going on by. Paul Woosley out there in front running a great red lane, as it seems the improvements on the track there. For those that don't know, similar to what my wife there, how she's got her hands on there on the track, that's what causes sag on the track, but we got her balanced up there, and I think a lot of that has to do with it just sagging over time. So trying to fix that and negate that. We worked on it a little bit with Tom to make sure that the tires were hooking up coming around that donut, and as you can see, there's a little bit more banking there on the far side, but that allows those cars to be able to hook all the way around that donut. As we see the Mazzetti of Tom Payton just get completely demolished on the backstretch there by two individual cars of both Bruce Bullington and Glenn Burton green Audi car. Tom gets his car put back on green, as we are all currently, it seems, on the same lap here. My wife rolling down the lane there on green. Paul Woosley actually 32 laps, Tom Payton 31, Bruce Bullington 31, Glenn Burton 31. It seems like tonight Paul Woosley kind of staying out of trouble a little bit as he tries to make the pass of Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington putting up a fight though, but he's able to dive bomb it just a little bit more than Bruce, and he's able to take him there on the inside on red lane, thus giving him a huge advantage in an open field because nobody's in traffic other than Tom, and he's about a half a lap down. So we'll see if Paul will be able to make another lap here before this 2 minute and 28 seconds is up. Red lane on fire for Paul Woosley tonight. If this keeps up, Paul Woosley is not going to have hardly any competition here. Tom Payton's going to have to come back off that vacation really quick, as he's going to have to try to make up some time. Tom giving a nice, easy, gentle movement of Bruce Bullington there to get him out of his way there in the donut portion of the track. But coming back from vacation, 2-week vacation, Tom Payton's coming back with the fury. He's trying to make up those laps that he's lost. His car just a little wiggly through the S-turns here, but as you can see, he made a perfect pass there on Glenn Burden's car. As he goes there on the inside, can he fend himself off from the furious nature of that Porsche, Paul Woosley? Paul Woosley getting a little bit out of control there on red lane. His nose kind of digging in a little bit. As we see, my wife was able to put him back in there, keeping the Wolves at the door there for Tom Payton in second position. Tom Payton really making up the times. He makes a dive bomb there on Bruce Bullington on the inside of the donut portion of the track. We're still going around here very furiously, as we can see Tom Payton just trying to devour yet another adversary here, Glenn Burden, and he does so in kind as he makes a nice, gentle pass on the inside of Glenn Burden around the donut. So Tom Payton really reeling it in, but right there behind him, about 16 car lengths behind him, we see on red, Paul Woosley really trying to garner it back up and trying to chase down trying to chase down Tom Payton. But by doing so, pushing a little bit more aggressive, Paul Woosley pushing that aggression, trying to get a couple more laps on Tom. I have this same issue. A lot of the top racers have that same issue. When you're doing so good, you just want to keep pushing and keep pushing. Sometimes it's best just to run a little bit above the pace of the rest of the track and just gain it gradually and run your own individual lane. But Paul Woosley, I commend him because he is headhunting. He is ready for Randy Kirtley. I've heard from his wife. I've heard from him. He's out to get Randy Kirtley and dethrone him of King of Lanes Raceway. You see my wife there getting a track call there. A little bit of help from the racers. We appreciate that. As she goes to get Paul put back on the lane. Paul took quite a bit of damage in our race Sunday for the LMP series. Him and Guillermo Sauer both suffering tremendous loss there, catching about every single wreck that happened. This was kind of detrimental for them, but Randy Kirtley, man, what a race he had as he was able to pull that win off substantially, not getting involved in too many wrecks and just smooth running the whole time. After this first round robin heat, we see Tom Payton actually take the lead there at the end with 79 total laps, followed by Paul Woosley with 78, and Bruce Bullington with 75, Glenn Burden 74. So right out of the gate, pretty close so far. Seems about speed-wise, Bruce and Glenn just a little bit down on pace compared to Tom and Paul. Tom and Paul both have opted to run the slipstreamed insane pans of Mazzetti, being able to place their weight in a more opportune spot versus these other guys that have bought RTR chassis. We'll say this, out of the box right now, I can't see a better car out of the box than the Gemini chassis of Mid-America when it comes to just sheer handling and speed on this orange track. Something to do with that center pan. It's just weird. It is altogether just a strange chassis that works. But nonetheless, out of the box, those things are Hummers, and they will flat roll hard. Once they get bent a little bit, or the motors take a little bit of wear after the first race, they're a different breed. They're a different change in the way that they go. Guys going to have a little bit of an issue tonight. Like I said, it's a little warm here in Lanes Raceway. They're going to have somewhat of an issue tonight keeping those cars nice and cool. Minute and 26 seconds before we go back live. I'm going to get me a water, and I'll be right back with you. All right, 5 seconds and we're back green racing.
Get ready.
4 lights are dropping, we're going green. We see there on the upper portion of your screen, Glenn Burden and Paul Woosley, followed by Bruce Bullington in the yellow Cobra. Got an interesting order coming in this week, about a $4,000 order as we see Bruce Bullington coming off. A couple of the cars actually are American-made cars, bodies for the guys if they want to swap out and represent for America. Only guy currently right now representing for America is Bruce Bullington, but I believe Guillermo Sire is going to do a swap out probably by our next race. He ended up getting a Cadillac TWP body earlier this week, so we'll see if he swaps up from his Lola that he had used last Sunday that got almost completely demolished in the rear end. Him and Paul Woosley definitely had a rough go of it Sunday, and you know, that's how racing is sometimes. You guys know that. It's tough to tell whether or not you're going to have just a little bit of luck that you need to keep rolling, but these guys are in good spirits, come back fighting strong. 3 minutes and 58 seconds left to go. We see Tom Payton and Paul Woosley both on the same lap here, blue and green, as we kind of try to focus in here. Tom Payton, your current leader, rounding about the horseshoe there on blue. Hardly anything can touch this guy. As like I said, he's been working on those gear ratios, and he's been flattening that chassis for the past 2 days. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff that matters. That's the kind of stuff that makes or breaks you as a racing competitor here. Tom Payton, Mazzetti, is just in pristine form as he's able to put the power down, coming back out of a vacation, just really giving it everything he's got. Right there behind him, though, on green lane, we see Paul Woosley trying to reel in Bruce Bullington. Does so in a nice manner, but it comes off underneath the bridge as we get a Paul's yellow flag.
Get ready.
The stream, everything working pretty well here on the stream. We got 40% all the way through. One thing I didn't do, load up our chat viewer and everything. Sometimes I forget to do that. Got to right click on stuff. It can be irritating for sure. Oh, I got one more somewhere. 5 minutes. Right. That one ain't gonna work. Enough said, though. Back to the race here. We see what looks to be Clay Dame rolling up in here on us. Just a hair bit late before the race. I think he might be coming to play pinball anyway. Tom Payton, your current leader, well, kind of weird. Showed Paul Woosley out with 46. Okay, I see. Total laps there. Tom Payton is your leader with 47 laps this heat. But Paul Woosley turning 48 laps, 1 lap ahead of Tom Payton. Will he be able to reel in Tom Payton before the heat's over? It's less speculative here as he's right behind him, trying his best to reel him in. He's making some good dive bomb moves, but pushing just a little hard there in the donut, costing him right at a lap. Now he's going to have to make that up yet again. Get a little aggressive there through the S-turns. We'll see how well he does. Can he fend off Tom from getting a lap here? Tom just ice in his veins here currently tonight as Tom Payton comes off right there at the end and gets a flag call.
Get ready.
So now the tables have turned, as we can see. Tom Payton now losing about what he had before. We'll see with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Can he bridge that gap? Paul Woosley and Tom Payton. Paul Woosley, like I said, there on green lane. We see Tom Payton. He wrecks yet again, not getting the yellow flag this time, as that exchanges first place with second yet again, almost getting a lap down over that wreck. We see that Paul Woosley now taking the lead by 2 laps currently, a full segment above Tom Payton. That's how quick it can change here at Lanes Raceway. One wreck means the difference between first place and going home in last. A little bit of a love touch there, I think, between some of the racers there involving Bruce Bullington, pushing him to the back off that wreck. Like I said, one wreck separates you from whatever position you're in currently with these guys. Only in our round robin, 2 of 8 so far. 138 Glenn Burden, Bruce Bullington. These guys are battling it out on white and red. Let's kind of follow them a little bit. As we can see, Bruce Bullington, he's just a hair bit behind Glenn Burden. Can he make that pass up to get Glenn? He's got to push just a little bit deeper there on Dead Man's corner on red. Very scary situation to have to push that hard, especially when you're trying to reel him in. But we can see Bruce making a little bit of time on Glenn Burden, not much. He's going to have to keep dive bombing it every time to be able to catch Glenn. Glenn having a little bit of issue here, possibly a motor issue, as he's got a couple races under that. Got a yellow flag that turned into a red flag, but back to a yellow flag, essentially. We got 2 seconds left to go. Glenn Burden and Bruce Bullington on the same lap. This right here is the difference there in the donut portion of the track between 3rd and 4th place. And we can see that Bruce Bullington was able to come through there and not wreck. He'll probably hold it off for the rest of this heat as he ends up getting that lap, putting him ahead of Glenn Burden at the heat. Paul Woosley is your leader, followed by Tom Payton. These guys are neck and neck, as we can tell. Paul's got about a full lap on Tom, as Tom had a rough wreck there underneath the bridge, and it cost him about 2 laps in this previous heat. A little bit of give and take between Paul and Tom the previous heat. Bruce Bullington and Glenn Burden, a little bit of give and take too. Glenn was in the lead right before the end, and of course he come out and gave that up to Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington just passing the line. They're just a segment, maybe 3 or 4 car lengths apart from one another. So very, very close racing between 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th. About a minute or so, we'll be back racing. I'm going to take you over to our pinball scores. These are live for the month of June. You'll see our new pinball machine on this leaderboard. It is not in the tournament, but for everything else, other than Iron Maiden, it is tournament play up until the end of the month, and then we'll restart it again. Today is also the last day for our VR battle. So if you're wanting to get in on that, the pot's up to, I believe, $120 right now. And that will be all paid out to the racer here tonight before we close. So definitely, if you're one of the top 3, you want to stop by and get your payout. If you're anybody else and you want to contend, $10, 10 laps, give it your best. We'll be right back with you.
Get ready.
All right, here we go. 4 lights are going to drop. We're going green here. Our current leader, I believe, is Paul Woosley with 161 laps, followed by Tom Payton. Bruce Bullington in 3rd, Glenn Burden in 4th. Bruce Bullington there at the end of the heat was able to pull ahead of Glenn Burden just by a hair. Of course, the usual suspect here, Dead Man's Corner. All this stuff's been glued today. So the track should be good and wet to keep these guys stuck down. we have a good amount of rubber laid now on the track, so everybody should be sticking pretty hard too. But you can kind of see if I can get my mouse over here. You can kind of see in this corner right here, just a little bit of no blackness in this area right here. Well, that was the issue that I've been noticing here the past couple times we were racing, is a good amount of laid black rubber all the way around the track here, but then no laid rubber right there in that corner. So that was letting me know that the back end wasn't touching there. These cars were just flying around there, kind of getting airborne at that point. So what I did is this portion of the track right here, just this half portion here, I kind of jacked it up in the air a little bit today and put a 1-inch piece of wood up on, well, I can probably show you right here. You can see the wood laying down here. And we've done this before, just jacking it up just a little bit to kind of help the track settle a little bit, to where that we can get some good adhesion around this donut so that you can lay the power down nice and evenly. And so far, what I'm seeing here, we're not having hardly any of the issue that we were having here, at least on Sunday. Sunday, of course, we were seeing people just flying off of there like they were just coming straight off. And I think a lot of that had to do with people just leaning on the track when they track marshal. And it's not that I'm upset about it. It's just that, you know, that's just natural human nature to want to lean on something about hip height. But it's just that it needed to be fixed. So we got it fixed. And now we can see these cars are staying on. The only time they're coming off is if they get done like that, what took place there on Green Lane. A little bit of a love touch from Paul Woosley and Bunch. Or a little bit of hard racing. I mean, you can still come off it. It's not like you can go wide open there, especially with the LMP cars. They have no side downforce. But I'm not hearing a lot of chattering. These guys are able to put the power down. That glue getting run into, even right before the S-turns, just helps these guys stay a little bit more planted. Some glue there towards the end of the horseshoe, keeping those back ends in tow instead of slopping back and forth. This all is to negate a large amount of wrecks taking place. Paul Woosley out in the lead by 2 laps, 198 to Tom Payton's 197. Bruce Bullington 184, Glenn Burden 182. So we're seeing kind of a similar thing here. Paul Woosley and Tom Payton fighting for first and second. Bruce Bullington and Glenn Burden fighting for third and fourth.
Get ready.
Tom Payton there towards the end of the track there, saying some things. Can't really hear what he's saying, but he's live there on purple lane. He's going to try his best to try to catch up with Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley got probably the fastest lane here at Lanes Raceway currently on blue lane. And one thing's for sure, Paul Woosley loves running a blue lane. If he gets involved there in an incident causing both him and Tom Payton to come out of the lane. A little bit of harsh aggression there, possibly costing them both just a hair. But we'll see if, well, it doesn't look like Tom was able to hold it there, as he kind of had a little bit of a come apart there on Dead Man's Corner. You can send that in the bottom right-hand portion of your screen. So Paul Woosley here going to gain probably another lap there over that. As we can see, 208 to 206. Yeah, right at half a lap for sure over another wreck. So that's what we're looking at tonight. Every time someone wrecks, we're looking at probably a half of a lap that's costing them. Get a yellow flag, 1 minute and 49 seconds left in this heat, round robin 3 of 8. Paul Woosley with the best lap of 3.4, currently our best, and that is a pretty fast lap time there on blue lane. Like I said, 4.25. So he's almost in the 3.3s there. A little bit more push aggression there. He could get it in there easily. So I think the track addition there of jacking up the track there has helped the racers a lot. As you can tell today, we've also jacked, from where we jacked the track up, I've also changed a little bit of the camera angle so you can see the cars just a little bit better as we kind of zoom in a little bit more on the S portion of the track so you can see the cars just a little bit more detail. Getting a yellow call there because my wife has quite a long way to go there to get Tom Payton's Mazzetti car put back on track. You can kind of see in the upper right-hand portion of your screen, that fan's going as hard as it can to keep these guys nice and cool at a staggering 30 frames per second, it looks like. All these guys stand on pretty well, though. 5 laps down, Tom Payton to Paul Woozley. We'll see if that changes any whenever Tom can get on that lane. But it looks like Tom very much struggling on purple lane. We've seen something similar to this with Randy Kirtley. He was struggling a lot there on purple lane also the other night. About the only lane that he actually had issues with. Purple lane having issues here recently. I'll see if I can draw it here in the bottom right-hand portion of your screen about midfield. About in this area right here, if you don't, like, if you're going too fast and you cross that line right there, where the portion of the track's put together, if you cross that line, you end up ramping just a little bit, and with that ramping action, you just bang the wall and kind of scrape along, kind of how Tom has been doing recently here on purple lane. But it seems like he's got to calm down a little bit. It only happens if your cars are really smooth and fast. It's just, you know, that transition's brutal, and the guys love driving her deep, and purple for some reason just won't hold it. Black will hold it, though, which is surprising. You can get black to hold it every time. Paul Woozley there, 243, followed by Tom Payton with 236, Bruce Bullington with 226 laps, and Glenn Burden with 221. So we're seeing a separation very similar here. Tom Payton, Glenn Burden on the bottom side of this transaction with 4 or 5 laps difference here. And Bruce Bullington and Paul Woozley there on the upper portions of that. Is it possible for Bruce to pull back those 10 laps needed to catch Tom? Well, anything is possible. If Tom starts wrecking his car like he has been the previous couple heats here, like I said, anything's possible. So we'll see for sure. I'm going to take a small break, and I'll be right back with you. All right, about 22 seconds left to go. We can see Tom Payton and Uncle Paul Woozley, they're neck and neck with each other there on black and purple. They are your front runners currently, right now, here at Lanes Raceway. 8 seconds left to go. We're going to see a 3-second countdown. 4 lights drop. We're going green.
Get ready.
It kind of just goes to show you, though, that once you get the rhythm down, you can go on a 2-week vacation and come right back and still be in the fight. Paul Woozley car did not start there on the front stretch of the track when we went green, possibly a braid issue, not connecting. But that cost him about a half lap. This is what Tom wanted to see. As you know, Tom made it from equal playing field to there. He made it all the way around to here. And that's what Tom needs. He needs more instances like that to be able to close the gap between him and Paul Woozley. Similar for Glenn, he needs that same thing to happen to this car right here of Bruce Bullington, so that he can get ahead of Bruce by a little bit. My wife right there in the screen, she's our track marshal. I'll circle her. Could not do it without her, as there is no commentation of these races, if that is a word, without my wife track marshaling. And I love that the guys are good with hitting the buttons tonight as we're down a little bit on track marshals. We see Paul Woosley in a battle here with Tom Payton. Tom Payton rushing there on black, trying to stay ahead of Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley really wanting to give it the beans and try to get past Tom, just giving a little bit of that intimidation factor. But he's going to want to make a move here shortly. I think he's just trying to be as kind as he can on the donut portion of the track to Tom Payton. He's just a hair bit driving her deeper as we see Tom Payton allowing him to go on by to cusp that. So we can see now that Paul Woosley's car just a hair bit quicker there on the dive, holding down that downforce just a little bit more. This might be an instance for Tom Payton maybe to, well, that was, well, get him on there. All right. That was me. I hit the pause on the track, but I noticed that the wife was having a little bit of trouble there trying to get Tom on there. Tom running for the front lead there. If the same thing would have happened between Bruce and Glenn, I would have tried to do the same. There's a certain amount of time that, things are going well, things are not. But if everybody's full throttle and they lose a couple laps, then it's taking you too long to get the car put back on. And I try to get them put back on the best that I can. But we can see that Tom and Paul both got into each other here during the S turn. And, of course, Paul, he was able to get put back on the car in a pretty timely fashion, but then struggled to get Tom back on about in this portion here on the black lane. If anything, Tom doesn't need to lose even more laps. Like I said, not playing favoritism, but this right here might be an issue for Tom, as Tom might need to maybe try trading in the old Mazzetti body for something a little bit more lightweight, a little bit lower to the ground, similar to what most of the guys are running. They're running some slipstream, low to the ground LMP bodies like the Porsche 917s and stuff like that, whereas Tom's running a Mazzetti, more like a GT1 style car. Not to say that it ain't a good car, as you can tell, it's very, very fast, but just a little bit higher up on the track, so a little bit top heavy, I guess you would say, rolling over. Not as much of a downforce factor as he's just getting that slipstream factor, so a little bit quicker on the front stretch, but having to let off a little bit more than most to get that downforce. As we can see him and Bruce Bullington there neck and neck, but right behind him, Paul Woosley coming to get just a little bit more of that lunch as he's going to launch his car down in a little bit deeper. Same principle here. We see him kind of displaying the intimidation factor here as he goes to rush to get it back on. Ooh, and out of nowhere, we see the beautiful Hawaiian shirt of Glenn Burton get that car of his own put back on there very, very quickly. We got 3 cars piling up here. Bruce Bullington, Tom Payton, and Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley there on purple doing his best to try to make that pass. Will he do it this time? And he does, and it's at the behest of Tom Payton. Tom Payton a little upset about that. I think as close of racing as that was, probably wouldn't have hurt just to stay behind him. Paul Woosley already out in the lead, didn't really need to make that pass. So we're probably going to see maybe a retaliation possibly later on between these two. Tom Payton, of course, representing to let everybody know that he's not afraid to put you in the wall. And I would say for something of that nature right there, probably will get Paul in the end. But we'll see. Paul Woosley's car, like I said, very, very fast. He's already reeling in Tom yet again for another lap. Tom kind of going on cruise control here. Paul legitimately pushing with everything he's got, like he is racing Randy Kirtley neck and neck here. Randy Kirtley, of course, one of our faster racers here and one that everybody tries to put down here at Lanes Raceway. And it looks like Paul has got his car set up to maybe do so this coming Sunday if Randy will be here. I'm not for sure if he is. I'm kind of surprised he wasn't here tonight. But nonetheless, Paul Woosley looking to take over the throne of King Kirtley. Paul Woosley, we call him Paulson down here, but I'll tell you right now, he is on fire tonight. 309 laps, followed by Tom Payton back from vacation, 297. Bruce Bullington, 291, and Glenn Burton, 284. Bruce Bullington doing a unexceptional job on blue lane as he's able to capture a couple more laps there on blue than Tom this heat. Tom having a struggle there on black, coming off in the donut section. But right now, Bruce Bullington, your current, second leader of running laps this heat with 69 total so far. So he's keeping that car on blue smoking fast. And that rear downforce, we know for a fact, has helped him beneficially from the last race Sunday, as it was giving him just a little bit more pushing power to go up underneath Dead Man's Corner. I'm sure he's not exactly where he wants to be with this car. He's going to continue to try and work on it and make it a little bit faster. Like he said, he's tore her down, flattened her up, oiled her up and everything. We can see that he's starting to, that rear downforce might be costing him a little bit. Could be gear ratio wise or whatever, but we can see that Paul Woosley here just a little bit quicker on the straight stretch, and even so through the S corner portion of the track. Paul Woosley there turning another 80 representative of his skill here at 324 total laps right now, followed by Tom Payton with 310. Bruce Bullington with 305, only 5 laps down now where he was 10, so he's closing the gap here between him and Tom Payton. Glenn Burton 297, also capturing a few laps here. They're running in the upper 70s, mid-70 field pack here. Tom Payton was able to turn an 81 on blue. Paul Woosley 83, your current leader out of that representation. Paul Woosley also your leader for all green lane, 82 turned laps, 79 the second, and that's by Tom Payton, 77 Bruce, and 76 Glenn Burton. If this continues to pan out and we don't see any changes here, we're looking at Paul Woosley with a good sweep here for tonight, depending on how these cars end up going. We're going to take a small break here and be right back with you here shortly. All right, 10 seconds left to go before we go back racing. Oh, my wife having a great time over there, waving at the crowd. I did see you. Comes in here. We got 1 second left to go. We're going to see those beautiful 4 lights drop out. We're going to go green. Here in the horseshoe portion of the track, we got Paul Woosley and Bruce Bullington. We see Paul Woosley really forcing it home. He's really going to try to push here on black lane. We'll see if he'll able to hold it here. As we know, Tom Payton wasn't able to hold it there in the horseshoe. But we can see the Porsche there holding it down. Tom Payton catching a little bit of a lip there on yellow coming through the horseshoe. But it looks like Paul Woosley finally got that controller set just the way that he wants. These past few races that he's ran have been beautiful races. Of course, this race here, not caught up in so much traffic. He's able to turn those laps, not getting involved in too many incidents here. all these racers here are going to have a pretty good race here tonight, just simply because the pack's just a little bit lighter. Ooh, as we see Tom Payton catch the bullhorns of Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington giving him the old love tap there in the horseshoe portion of the track. Tom Payton kind of having some issues here. Could be a mental issue breakdown here from the past couple wrecks he's had. He just needs to hang on, run his own lane. We'll see how well he does at the end of it. He's holding down second place, but Bruce Bullington was able to get at least one more lap on him here, as we see both Bruce Bullington and Paul Woosley getting involved there in the horseshoe, or in the donut portion of the track. My wife quickly getting a little bit of a roll down there on blue lane for Glenn Burden. Glenn Burden might have had a little bit of a roll up there. Glenn Burden, the only person to stay on this whole heat here. That's going to be beneficial for Glenn, as he's on blue lane. Paul Woosley turning the most laps so far with 23, followed by everybody else with 22. Oh, as we get a little bit of back and forth there. Man, a full stretch apart there, grabbing Bruce Bullington in the S corner, but he quickly gets put back on. On the outside of, well, now on the inside, we see that Paul Woosley was able to pass on a straight stretch there, pushing just a little bit harder underneath the bridge, making the pass on Bruce Bullington. The blue car of Glenn Burden hanging in there, 29 laps. He's now second place turn laps this heat. As we can see, he is still the only one not to have wrecked this heat. Now turning 31 to Paul Woosley's 32. If he can keep this on, he'll be able to gain a couple of laps here. That's what he needs to gain a couple of laps there on Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington, though, he's still not giving up without a fight. We can see Bruce Bullington running some nice consecutive laps here, holding off Glenn Burden, as Glenn Burden goes to make the pass there on the outside of Bruce Bullington. Now on the inside, they're kind of running neck and neck. We've seen this before with Tom Payton and Paul Woosley earlier. But now we're seeing it here with Bruce Bullington, Tom Payton, and Glenn Burden. As we get a tap there to the outside, that'll be another wreck there for Tom Payton, as he's coming to look at his car. Now, of course, you heard the shout from Glenn Burden, 30 seconds. That is true. He's got 30 seconds. Right now, we are at about 12 seconds. Not even bent, is what Tom said. Of course, those Mazzetti laser cut chassis, that's why you get them, ladies and gentlemen. They're tough. Laser cut chassis, super lightweight, but man, they can take a hit. Even the insane side pans, man, can take a surprising hit. If you look those up on the internet, you'll be like, man, those things are fragile. They look like wishbones out of a turkey gizzards, or out of a turkey carcass. But nonetheless, super, super thin, but they're tough. They're super tough. And you don't hardly have that many issues. Ooh, what a move we've seen by Paul Woosley through the S-turns there on Bruce Bullington. It was kind of just style and motion there, as we see. But Glenn Burden there, he's trying his best to get another lap here reeled in on Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington struggling just a little bit around the donut pushing portion of the track. But he's holding off Glenn here, as we see Paul Woosley come off in the S portion of the track. And right behind Glenn, we see Tom Payton with his Mazzetti. We'll see if we have another incident here between him and Glenn Burden going around the high banks. So far, so good. The Mazzetti going to make a pass on the outside. Nope. As he's trying to push, but he doesn't want to push too hard. Oh, what a pass we see there by Tom Payton, as he makes a beautiful pass on the horseshoe portion of the track, getting in front of Glenn Burden. Glenn Burden not blinking an eye as he's still pushing as hard as he can. But now the gap has increased a little bit between him and Bruce Bullington, as Bruce Bullington's now putting the hammer down there on purple. He knows his car will hold, and now will he make that good pass again? Woo, we see a little bit of a let-off there between Tom Payton, as he could have got the bullhorns. But it looks like Bruce Bullington not letting up an inch. Ooh, as he was going to give the bullhorns yet again, and we see another incident take place here out of the horseshoe. Action ensuing here in the horseshoe all night long. We can see these guys racing with everything they got. My wife giving us the smile to the camera. We see Mazzetti, Tom Payton here, trying his best to make that pass. He's going to have to make that pass on the donut portion of the track if he wants to do it successfully, because Bruce Bullington not going to give him an inch when it comes to coming around the horseshoe. which I wouldn't either, as Bruce Bullington is now racing for position with Tom Payton. He's trying his best to hold Tom Payton off the best that he can to get every single lap inched out of him he can, hoping that Tom might wreck. So we see they go 3 wide here, Tom Payton, Paul Woosley, and Bruce Bullington. Very, very much aggression following behind Bruce Bullington, but Bruce Bullington holding it down, ladies and gentlemen. What flow we see here with the American muscle of the Cobra. He is actually gaining on these guys a little bit when he pulls the trigger a little bit harder. Oh, a little bit of a rough escape there through the horseshoe portion of the track cost him there as he got involved in a little bit of side-to-side sway with the other guys. So push just a little hard. That's all it takes, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little bit of hard pushing there, and it ended up causing that back end to slide out and the bounce between the two cars of Tom Payton and Paul Woosley. Tom Payton there on yellows. He's aggressively trying to get those laps back from Paul Woosley, but Paul Woosley almost untouchable here tonight with the low slung Porsche that he's got as Paul Woosley goes to make another victim of Glenn Burden there on blue lane. Glenn Burden still the only person not to wreck this heat, turning 77 total laps this heat, tying up 78 laps as he rolls across the finish line, 1 lap ahead of the rest of the guys. So there we see Glenn Burden turning 78 laps, a good pace there, still lower than everybody else there on blue, but he did not come off that heat, and that's something to be said, because if he gets on these other lanes with everybody else and continues to stay on, he is going to eventually gain laps. We see Bruce Bullington there, still 5 laps down from Tom Payton. Both of these guys must have wrecked about the same amount of time as they're trying to reel him in. Bruce Bullington now not giving an inch to Tom Payton. Our leader still currently Paul Woosley with 81 laps. Glenn Burden there in 4th position with 375. All of these guys with respectable laps tonight. Of course, the pack's a little bit lighter. I'm going to take a small break and I'll be right back with you. Sorry about that. We are back. 3 seconds left to go. We're going to see them lights drop, and we're going back live racing. Here on the front stretch, we'll see on orange Tom Payton, yellow car Paul Woosley not visible, black car Bruce Bullington visible there in the donut portion of the track. As we see Paul Woosley making a rush there on yellow, we now see Bruce Bullington. Just had a small word with him earlier, right before we started the heat, and how impressive it was to see him hold off both Tom and Paul without any incident or resolve, all the way up to the point where he got a little loose here coming out of the horseshoe, kind of tapped between the two guys, ended up causing a little bit of an incident there. But nonetheless, this is how it works. We get a car up on its lid. I don't know whose car that is. That's Paul Woosley's car. So something that you hardly see here. Paul Woosley's car, though, coming off on yellow. Now tied up here with Tom Payton. Nose is itching. Just recently, I think I told you guys a while ago, just recently cleaned the air conditioner tonight, and all that pollen and stuff that was up in there, dust, has just really worked me. Check the black lane and make sure it's not rolled up there. Gonna have T check the black lane as he's came off there twice so far. Usually whenever you see a car do the exact same thing 2 or 3 laps in a row, that's just indication that somebody drove her a little deep, rolled the braid a little bit, and that little bit of a rolled braid will cause the car to come out every time. So we'll get that rolled back down, and we'll see Bruce be able to hang that corner a little bit better. That's one thing I know is these guys, every one of them, keep their chassis and cars flat. So during the heat, they're blocking them, they're checking them. You guys seen them before. They're not complacent when it comes to their cars. So definitely not a bent car issue. It is most likely just road braid where they push their cars as hard as they can through the horseshoe. A little bit of aggression there from Bruce coming out of the start there hard on the gas. My nose will not stop itching. I feel like it's got poison ivy up in my nose hole. 4 minutes and 19 seconds here. We see Paul Woosley grabbing some cars and pulling them back for some reason. Both him and Tom Payton, I guess, to keep their cars from maybe pulling out of the slot. They go back. Tom Payton and Paul Woosley neck and neck with each other around the donut portions of the track. This is the kind of racing we like to see. We're going to have to see more pushes from Tom Payton, but that pushing is causing. And right there was a prime example of what I was telling you guys about. That car just flopping out of the lane like that. I believe that has to do with the top portion of the car being just a little higher than Paul's. Paul's lower slung down to the ground. He's lighter weight on the body, and all that matters. I mean, you would think that it wouldn't because they're so micro of cars, but it really does. The difference in the viewing of these two cars right here is, you know, so different. The front nose of Paul's is just laying flat on the ground, essentially kind of like how wing cars are. And then, you know, Tom's is like a brick wall in the front. Now, how pretty a car is, I mean, I've always thought Maserati cars were beautiful. And I'll tell you, the Maserati of Tom Payton, that is a beautiful car from JK for sure. But there comes a point that we need to exchange beauty for performance. And I believe that Tom is to that point. We've seen the Maserati. We've seen his flashy looks. And I think maybe it's time he does like everybody else and gets these lower slung bodies similar to what Bruce and Paul are using there in the S portion of the track. We see Alicia, also called the twin, says, "Go Dad," and good to see Tom at the track. Yeah, Tom has took himself a pretty good hiatus as he's went to Yellowstone and had himself a good old vacation. He was letting us know a couple weeks before. He said, "I won't be here for a couple weeks." But he was very excited to see, we get a couple pile up right there between Bruce Bullington and Glenn Burton. But he was excited to see all of the changes here at Lanes Raceway. Of course, we've added 2 new pinball machines just in the past 2 weeks. And, of course, our competitions and stuff have been picking up here with the VR competitions and, of course, pinball. Not to mention our series has been going live. Got quite a few rookies rolling in the Rookie Rumble and the Little Rumble series. Special thanks to Jay Latham, as Jay Latham gave the little rookie rumblers something to run for second position. A little go-kart 4-inch car, and I know the kids will definitely love that. As they all get a race for free other than the entry. It's $10 entry, and they just get a race all summer long, basically on Sunday at 3 o'clock. So something just to get the guys and the kids involved, to get them to that next level, so where they can come out here and run with Tom, Bruce, Glenn, and Paul, and Randy, and all the rest of the crew in the Pro Series. But they can't get to the Pro Series without first going through a little bit of a gauntlet here on the orange track and learning the rhythm. Now, these guys definitely do have the rhythm, as we can see what's separating them 30 or so laps difference from each other. But all these guys running a really good race tonight, simply because there's not as much of a pack, so they can dive bomb it a little bit deeper. There's a lot more of an instance of these guys being separate. Now, currently, right now, you know, a lot of these guys are neck and neck. This is what we usually see when there's 8 people going all the time. We see a lot more pile-ups and stuff like that. Now, this costs a lot of laps during a full-fledged race, but you can see we pretty much went through this race quite quick. Thursday nights do go quite quick. For one reason, they go quite quick. For a lot of people, just don't end up making it to the race. But we've had Thursday races to where it was fully packed too. Thursday and Sundays here at Lanes Raceway, it's kind of funny, are our most busy days. You would think Friday and Saturday would be busier than Thursday, but not usually the case. Thursday usually a big racing day for sure. Christy Bobby gracing us with her presence. She's probably ready to play the new Iron Maiden pinball machine that we got. She's partook a little bit in our first little pinball competition and got involved with the Jurassic Park. All our pinball tables now freshly cleaned for this month, and I'll tell you what, they are flying. Very, very smooth. So I know earlier this week, Jurassic Park having a few issues with going up some of the inverted ramps, but baby, that thing is flying now. There's no issues whatsoever with them. The plunger was a little bit sticky when we first got it. I guess the humidity got to it. Put a little bit of dab of that old slot car bushing oil in there, and right there through that brass bushing on that plunger, and man, she's flying now. Now, a lot of our guys, one thing they don't like about our new pinball machines, it doesn't have the button. There's buttons on all of our pinball machines, but that one, and that button allows them to press the button to plunge the ball. There's not too many of them that use it, but there's a few, and they would rather hit the button than to actually pull the plunger. I thought half of the fun of pinball was always plunging it. And the cool thing that you may not know about pinball is you can either pull it to shoot the ball, or you can literally just hammer it and shoot the ball. To each his own, but either way you can plunge a pinball. Minute and 2 seconds left to go. We still got Paul Woosley out there in the lead, followed by Tom Payton. Bruce Bullington in third place, trying his best to reel in Tom. Glenn Burden there in third place, trying his best to reel in Bruce. They're still within about 10 laps of each other, and still Bruce is right at 5 laps from catching Tom. So everybody is just right there neck and neck with each other in the bottom 3, and they're just all waiting on somebody else to wreck and get a half a lap or a full lap and then not wreck themselves. But it's going to be tough. These guys, they know the track. As you can see with the medians here, 3.61, 3.69, 3.8, 3.9. We're talking a difference between tenths of a second of these lap times. And these guys are pushing with everything they got to still be able to keep their cars on. Now, when they wreck, of course, that does affect the median lap times. But nonetheless, all these guys really got some heart going on tonight. Oh, as we see Bruce Bullington there pushing it super deep there on black as he makes the pass there on Glenn Burden. He was really dive bombing that American Muscle there, going very, very well here on black lane. We see him trying his best to reel in Tom Payton. He needs this to be able to get another lap on Tom. Right now we can see 73 to 74 laps turned here between the two. They're kind of staying equally apart from each other. Coming up behind Bruce Bullington there in his bright yellow car, we see Paul Woosley closing the gap there as the car inches through that S-turn, getting a little bit better of a coast. At the end of our round robin heat 6, 1 second, we're going to have a surprise for the fellas. All right, racers, do not go to your pits. We are going to do a weigh-in here, so meet us at the glass marquee. The wife is going to have the paperwork. We're going to need to weigh these cars in. If your car does not meet weight, you will lose 10 laps, and we will continue the race. We're going to be going into 7. So all the racers now bringing their cars into the marquee to get them weighed in. The wife's going to write down their weights. Hopefully they match up weight. A lot of the guys have opted to sort their weight in. See what happens. And she'll let me know if anybody doesn't pass weight. All right. Also, you'll have as much time as you need in the pits. I won't start the race until the last person hooks up. So take your time, get your cars the way you want them, and we'll get back underway for round robin 7 of 8. That's another thing that we do. When we do a surprise inspection, we give them enough time there in the pits. So we're going to go ahead and pause this, let them have their time. Might go out there and get a couple interviews from the guys, and we'll be right back with you.
Glenn, the old machine. One thing I've been noticing is we kind of see a little bit of separation between first and second and third and fourth. Are you going to be able to pull in Bruce Bullington?
I don't know. His car is about as fast. Mine and his car are about the same speed, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Wait and see. It's all within a wreck or two, isn't it?
Yeah. You come off once or twice in this caliber of cars, you ain't gonna catch back up. So you gotta keep your car on at all times. And I've had a few mistakes on the front stretch, coming out of the corners too hard and spinning out right on the front stretch. And then Paul Woosley trying to pass me and knocking me off. So, but I'm not gonna make it easy on Paul for him to get around me either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you've had a little bit of experience now on the donut portion of the track. Would you say that the track's in better shape or worse shape?
It's better as far as the car staying on in the donut, but it is super slick. I think it might need some glue on it for the next race.
Well, I know we glued everything. Maybe we might need to step it up to medium glue. I glued right there before you go into Dead Man's Corner, right in the middle of the donut portion of the track, right after the donut, right before the S's, and then right as you come out of the horseshoe. That's where I glued today, so I think maybe we might need to step up to medium glue. What do you think?
Well, I think it looks to me like everybody is real loose coming out of the corner going to this front stretch, so I think that's where the glue needs to be put for the next race, because everybody is loose coming out of the big corner coming to the straightaway.
Yeah, that's the horseshoe. I put some there before we started the race, but maybe light glue just ain't enough. I'll try some medium glue before the next race.
Yeah, we got to get it prepped for Guillermo and Randy and all them guys to come back in and kick our butts.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So far, everybody's going to get some pretty good laps here tonight. Simply the field's down quite a bit, but I believe everybody's going to get some good laps, and that probably will push them up a little bit higher than they were previously was in the points.
Oh yeah, we're all trying to stay on, make laps. This is enduro, not a sprint.
That is right. Glenn, thank you for your time. Yes, Randy is out on this one. I don't know where he was. He didn't show up today. We'll run without him. But I know I've talked to you, Paul Woosley. Curly, is that not correct?
Very correct. He is out for him big time.
What has Paul done to the car to catch old King Curtley?
I have no idea.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, no telling how much money.
Well, I need to go talk to Paul because I like money. Paul, how much money you got invested in this old Bubble Eye Porsche?
50 cents or $1.
50 cents or $1. Is that enough to get Randy in the next heat?
I doubt it.
Woo. Well, I'll tell you what, that thing's been hanging on there tonight. What do you think about the changes to the track? Better or worse?
I think it's better. I think it's hanging in on the donut there a lot better.
Would you agree with Glenn about coming here through the horseshoe that it's still a little slick?
Yeah, it's a little greasy on purple. I noticed that, but all the other ones been about the same. Pretty consistent.
Well, I'm thinking maybe we might just need to dab a little bit of medium glue down here and get some nice medium glue rolling down there and probably solve the problem. What do you think?
Possibly, if it don't ride wheelies out of it.
Well, are you going to be able to hold off Peyton and his Mazzetti this race here, or do you pretty quick?
I believe I got him.
Believe you got him? What about you, Tom? Do you think you're going to be able to make up the distance, or are you going to try to push too hard and maybe fall apart?
Now I'm going to agree with Paul. My two top lanes are not really my strongest suit, so I'm going to have to agree with him. I don't think I'll be able to make the difference. It'll be clean, but won't be good.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, you've surprised me. Being 2 weeks off there for the first couple of heats, you and Paul neck and neck. Just separated you a couple laps there with the difference. There was a moment, you probably knew when it was. I'm not going to mention it here live on the stream, but, there was a moment whenever you kind of started falling apart. Would you agree with that?
100%.
I mean, it happens. It happens. But I was telling the guys on stream and the gals on stream that maybe Mozzie might be a little too top heavy. Maybe a change in body, something similar to the lower profile big wing in the back like we see in the Porsche here with Paul Woosley might be a beneficial thing maybe in the future for you. Do you think that maybe that would help your chances?
Now I think my weight placement's my problem.
Weight placement, where you got your weight mostly placed?
Dead center, one stick of just the normal cheap ounce weight.
Yeah, I mean, some of the strong guys I've noticed have either been putting a little bit of weight right up at the nose and then right behind the motor. And I'll tell you what, that's been working quite well. Gabriel Kirtley's got one right behind the motor and towards the upper portion of the car, and he ended up beating Randy the other night. Of course, Randy would have gave him a lot more of a battle, but he ended up stripping his gear out as he got into a little bit of a battle there at the start-finish line. I don't know if you caught that race while you were on vacation or not, but it was quite a good race.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Tom, I appreciate it, man. I'm going to go back in there in the booth. We're going to wait on these guys to get their cars hooked up, and we'll go back green racing, but good luck to you. Clay, are you excited for Sunday's race?
Yes, sir.
What do you think about Iron Maiden?
Pretty good.
All right. I love talking to you, Clay. Thank you for stopping by here at Lanes Raceway. If you want to come say hi to your fans, I'm in the booth at any time.
All right, sounds good.
I like messing with Clay a little bit. I thought I'd have to stop in there and say something to him real quick. We see Glenn Burden getting that black sticker on there. We're going into round robin 7 of 8. We'll be skipping through this portion of 1 minute and 21 seconds when the guys get hooked up. I'll see you back in the booth, and we'll get this race underway. 4 lights drop, we'll be going green.
All right, I see Alicia saying, is it even possible to catch King Kirtley? It is. I don't know if you caught that earlier, but Gabriel Kirtley, his son, just pulled a car right out of the box before he come, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before. and ended up beating him. They were within one lap of each other back and forth, and it was a stock car. Literally, we didn't have time to do anything to it other than put a body on it, an LMP body. And he raced his heart out, and there was nothing really that Randy could do other than at the end of the race strip his gear out. All right, racers, watch your lights. We're going to get 4 lights to drop out here. We're going back green. But yes, the only thing that Randy's doing that's a little bit different than these other guys, all these guys have a car that can beat Randy. But really the only thing that he's doing a little bit different is in this portion here, he is driving it as hard as he can from this point all the way around the track, and he's letting off about right here, okay? And on the let-off, his car is carrying so much momentum under the bridge. We'll go to the other view here. It's carrying up so much momentum that the back end slides out. Now, on that back end slide out, he is gassing it. He's gassing it through this portion of the track. Just that small burst is literally like this. And it's full throttle, and then he immediately lets off from the full throttle so that full brake starts and taking about right here. Then the car settles back down flat into this corner here where the back end slides out yet again around this way. And whenever the car lines up straight with the corner, he gasses back around about a quarter throttle and holds it all the way around here, letting off again at the top portion of the track here. And if you can get that so finite and keep doing that, whenever you go through here, you'll be gassing it through this portion, letting it coast through the belly, gassing again around here, holding that pressure around here from this point here, about a quarter throttle or so, and then getting into full throttle here when you straighten up for the back stretch. If you can get that rhythm down and you can just increase it a little bit at a time, whoever's in front of you, you can always outrun. It's always easier to run a guy down than it is to be run down and try to run perfect laps. So you can always run better when you got a guy in your view, because you can see whether or not he went too deep or if he let off just perfect. It's funny how the mind works, but you can do it. And your mind's like, yeah, you can push it deeper, or hey, he ran a little deep, let's slow it down so we can make the pass. So that's essentially racing in a nutshell, is just leaning on other people's mistakes. And in between those mistakes, just running high caliper pace laps. If you can do that and not wreck, you're going to run first or second almost every time, unless you're running with other people like Randy Kirtley, Gabriel Kirtley, Guillermo, Paul, all these guys here. Then it boils down to how many times you wreck. And that's essentially where these guys are at. They're getting quite fast and good times, as we can see, 3.85, 3.85, 3.87. These guys are right there with each other in those lap times. The only thing that's making them lose is the wrecking. If they can just figure out that rhythm good enough to not wreck, or don't let it get in their head, which is hard for a 5-minute heat. So while I just said that it would be Gabriel. I heard you last race, day 4 is the limit on wrecks. Is that still relevant for each race? 4 is the limit on wrecks. I don't guess I follow. I might have said that as a joke or something, but no, these guys are not limited to wrecks. Now, there has been races that we've ran, 3 and out races, where if they wreck 3 times, they're out for the heat. But in this, it's just, it's our pro class. The only issue, the reason that we're stopping the track is that we're limited on track marshal. We got my wife here essentially, and that's it. But if we had her and another racer, it would be a live track like Sunday. And it's beneficial in a weird way. It's beneficial. The reason why is because when you don't stop the track a lot, people actually get into rhythm and they wreck less, and they can actually turn more time, more laps. But in this instance, like I said, we're down on track marshals, and that kind of is not a fun thing either. Because you could be in a good rhythm and your rhythm be broke because somebody comes off the track. It's a mental thing too. Just picture yourself being behind that trigger and you're running great laps, and then somebody keeps wrecking every lap. Well, now you got to reset yourself by what part of the track you're on. You could goose it too much. It just depends on how much experience you have on the track. So killing the track is like a last resort. You really don't want to do it. But in this case, our racers do have control of the track, and I mean, I've told them to not be liberal with it, but to only kill the track if my wife can't get you. What I'm seeing so far, they're doing a pretty good job of that. If they come off and it's right in front of them, they're not been hitting it or overly abusing it. And I think it's all good. The guys are pretty well used to using that track call button, and all the guys are, for the most part, okay with it whenever we're down track marshals. But in a perfect world, we'd have track marshals. But with 5-minute heats, I really hate to, I'll just tell you what it would be math-wise. Get the paperwork here, and I'll tell you. So with 4 racers, just to have one, we'd have to add 7 ghosts. So when you're running 5 minutes, that's 7 extra heats that these guys would have to run for us to have at all times one racer helping track marshal. So as a way just to save time, we limited 30 seconds. Anything longer than 30 seconds, the racers have to go on their own, and we'll continue the race without them. 30 seconds and less, they can work on their car, get their braid back in order, tighten the gear, whatever it is to continue racing. Just as a way to keep it fast and keep it fair for everybody that's not here today, we do the best that we can. And like I said, it works pretty well considering how well these guys have been staying on here recently. You're looking at the difference between if we ran a live track versus non-live track. Live track with 2 people, you probably lose 3/4 of a lap. With the button getting pressed, you're going to lose about a half lap to a full lap, depending on where they come off at. So it's not much of a difference when it comes to the length of how much people lose. But a big difference in just, you know, like that car that's come off for Paul Woosley right there on the back stretch. Nobody hit the track. He fixed his own car. But my wife wouldn't have been able to get there in a timely fashion. So for the most part, he could have hit that track call button and we would have been in good shape. I guess in a weird way, I'm trying to justify the track call buttons, but just we're the only place I know of that actually let our racers use them. It's kind of like golf in a way. You know, you go out there and play 18 holes, nobody's watching you in a scramble. Can you cheat for a win? Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, do you want to go down as a cheater? And people know when you're cheating, and so do these racers. They know when they're overly abusing it. They'll get called out on it. They kind of police themselves. They're like, hey, man, what are you doing hitting that button, man? You know she could have put you back on, you know. So it kind of polices itself. That I thank you, man, as in to be contention for making laps, like when racing against people like Randy and Gabriel. Yes, Paul has done it. I mean, I know for a fact Paul and Tom both has ran in contention with Randy and Gabriel. Right before Tom went on vacation, he actually won the wing race by 6 laps, and they were utterly surprised. I wish I had those pictures on hand, but you can go back to the last big wing race that Wally, Randy, and Tom were in. You can see their top 3 on Facebook, and you can see the look on their face because, you know, they were involved in some wrecks and back and forth competition. And old Tom, he slipped in there and got him, boy, and he's cheesing right there with that number 1 finger up. Now, currently, is it less likely that they're going to win versus Gabriel or Randy? Well, currently that is the case. It's simply because the only thing that's separating them is not speed. These guys, like I said, have the cars to do it. It's just simply resolve. In other words, like, can they mentally keep it together to not wreck? Gabriel Kirtley, Randy Kirtley, they've been racing. Even Wally, Milton, Jeff, and all those guys that come from Tennessee, they've been racing forever. and once you've raced on one slot car track similar to an Orange or a Blue King or any of these more difficult tracks, you know what makes a winner when you're racing against other higher profile racers, and it's simply just staying on. And are all racers here at Lanes Raceway, Bruce and Glenn and Paul and Tom, are they to that point? Yeah, they're to that point to where they're starting to learn that I'm wrecking each heat. They need to make it to where that the whole race long they wreck one, maybe two times. If they can do that, they will beat Randy. They will beat Gabriel. It's just a matter of time, because Gabriel and Randy don't even run perfect races where that they don't wreck at least once or twice a race. Now, granted, usually when they race, that's about how many times they wreck. Once, twice, if they get involved in incidents like everybody else, you don't even count those wrecks. The wrecks that you count are the ones that are self-induced, because everybody gets caught up in wrecks. That's just something that racing, it's just the way it is. So you don't count those. But if the guys were to literally like pick apart their racing style and say, well, how many times am I wrecking? How many times am I causing my own wreck? These guys are getting better, but they're still wrecking about once every 4 heats. And that's not enough to take out some of these veteran kind of guys that's been racing their whole life. How much time will it take them to get there? It won't take them long as they keep turning laps. But the same adage is true. You must turn laps. You got to turn laps. It's got to be second nature to you. It's got to be nothing but rhythm in your eyes and behind your eyeballs, in your brain, in your hand. Like, it all works together in tangent, and you kind of get stone cold about it. It's kind of like breathing. And these guys are getting there right now. They're getting to the point to where making these faster laps like that is just like breathing. But they just got to stay on the track. Like right there, we just seen Paul Woosley come off on white. It's rough. What's up, Jackson? Also known as Action Jackson in our Little Rumble series, also in our Rookie Rumble series. Action Jackson raced his first 2 races here. Jackson can attest to me. How hard is it, Jackson? Let everybody know how hard it is just to keep your resolve for 10 laps. Is it an easy thing or is it a tough thing? I'm pretty much can already be a fortune teller if I wanted to, but I'll let Jackson answer for you guys. Right now, Tom Payton out in the lead, 555 laps. Might have an issue here. I haven't been paying attention the past couple heats here, but Paul Woosley down to 536 laps for some reason or another. Maybe did I miss something? Did Paul Woosley completely miss a heat or something? Because he dropped all the way from first to last place for some reason. Yeah, just like Jackson said, it's a tough thing. Been working with Jackson here at the slot car track for about the past week. We spent 3 days from when I got here to when I closed, and we started there in Dead Man's Corner. And essentially, if you could draw a line here, from here to about here, you want your car to brake right there in the center of the apex of that corner. We would work there, and then we worked on gassing it, through the bridge to brake here. And then we worked on holding that quarter pressure through here to let off here, and then back into the gas just a little bit to let it coast into here, quarter throttle around here, kind of fingering the trigger about right here, and then back into it here to full throttle. And it took about 3 days or so. But once he got it down, of course, you seen he was able to take home the victory in both the Little Rumble and in the Rookie Rumble. So, does he still have work to do? Well, yeah, all these racers still have work to do. Okay. Well, they need to get it fixed, so get them a guide flag for sure. So right now, my wife just come in here, said we've got a broken guide flag. Now, who's got the broken guide flag? 1 second, I got to go talk to these racers. I'll be right back, and I'll let you guys know. All right. So I helped Clay there. He needed him a drink. I was going to go out there and talk to the guys, but the rules are what the rules are. So you got 30 seconds. He wasn't able to get his car put in on time, so the racer's going ahead and continuing on without him. Bruce Bullington, now our current leader, with 578 laps. Followed by Tom Payton with 567. Glenn Burden closing down on that with 566. Paul Woosley with 562. Jackson says, as long as you can manage the top lanes as good as the bottom lanes, you can win a lot of races. That is true. I mean, these top white and red lanes right here, that dead man's corner has taken a many a soul. Because they want to drive it too deep and push their cars and not fully let off to let the chassis settle back down straight. And then they gas it a little bit too much coming through the bridge here, causing their car just to straight come off. Essentially what you just seen right there on white with Paul Woosley. And when you go too hard there, like the guide flag got caught up right here, and that's what caused them to get turned around there and the back end slip out. Once you get that rhythm down low for red, white, and green, the rest of it is pretty simple there on Dead Man's Corner, because black and purple down low, you got so much opportunity to carry speed through there, whereas the upper lanes you don't. But black and purple, you have issues through this section here, just simply because right here in this area, a lot of people want to push it too much, making the cars come off here. So it's a great equalizer, the orange track, you know, depending on what portion of the lane you're in. Now, blue lane, I will have to respectfully think that blue lane is the fastest lane out of all the lanes on the orange track, just simply because you can carry the most speed, you're out of the trigger and in the trigger least amount of time, and it's a good place to start if you're beginning racing. But what you want is to get better at racing. So just like Jackson said, you need to master the red and white lane. You need to master the black and the purple lane. The middle lanes, if you master those other two, the middle lanes are just in between those two lanes. And it's simple. And from that point, it's just a matter of getting those micro increments of time. Like I said, and it's micro. I mean, look at this, median 3.8, 3.86, 3.88. The micro that we're talking about is those 0.08s and 0.06s, because everybody pretty much runs relative with each other. Now, Gabriel and Randy, are they running somewhere faster than 3.8 on orange or yellow? Yeah, they're probably running somewhere around a 3.5, 3.6. But the only difference between that is, like I said, how aggressive they push down here and get that back end out and time it perfectly to jolt it through, and you know how quickly they get through this portion right here. So Bruce Bullington, your winner of this race here of Thursday, 6/15/2023. Bruce Bullington's going to take home the win tonight. 617 laps. Glenn Burden's going to take second place, 603. What a turn of events. Our bottom two went to the top, and our top two went to the bottom. That's enduro for you. And you never know how it's going to end up ending until it's over. Paul Woosley and, of course, Tom Payton had some rough goings there towards the end of the race there in 7th and 8th heat. causing them to fall down a little bit. But their laps will still count towards the 5 races that they need. They'll probably want to improve on that. My wife's going to go out there and get some pictures taken with these. Alicia says, all right, congratulations, Dad. Yeah, congratulations. I'm sure he never expected this to happen as many laps as he was down. But that's racing. You just never know what's going to happen with the car. You never know what's going to happen with other people if they're going to get in your way. It's all a learning experience. It's all about getting a little bit better for the next week. And what a crown jewel it's been for Bruce. As he started here, he has since progressively gotten better and better as this series has went on since we've started. So, you know, the first time, rough go of it. The second time, he moved himself up. The third time when he put that wing on, which was Sunday, that thing picked up so much more. And then now here he is going to be able to take home a win here tonight. So we're going to go out there and get a word with Bruce and probably Glenn, see about the change of events here, and then talk to all the racers, and then we'll end up ending this portion of LMP Thunder.
Hey, Bruce, can get you for just a moment. You and Glenn both. Y'all might as well both just come over here. Sweating here at Lanes Raceway, ladies and gentlemen. Dying. It says 61 on the air conditioner, but it's a good 80-something degrees in here. Probably still better than outside, though, isn't it, Clay? He's outside. Yeah, I'm dying over here. So, Bruce, what a turn of events, man. Could you guess that this might have happened in racing?
You just got to keep trying, keep your head down, and turn laps. Key is to stay on and not break.
I mean, that is almost verbatim of what I just said in there. Been talking to Action Jackson, you know him.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, talking to Alicia in there. And they were wanting to know, is there a chance you guys could ever run? Can you we see he's getting he's getting some bad luck this race and the previous race, but that you said it. Hey, is it not?
Very, and especially sometimes people have bad luck. And car wouldn't run, lost 5 laps just like that.
That's it. I mean, we see that Tom Payton and Paul Woosley both having bad luck here tonight. You know, very disappointing for both of them because they were front running. But that's racing. The race must go on, even if cars make it to the end. And we can see also that he's representing for the Mid-America. Another one of those great chassis here at Lanes Raceway. Chassis in this series so far. So, Bruce, thank you for having some time with us. And it's coming Sunday. All righty. Hey, Glenn, can I get you for a minute? I'm here with Glenn Burden. Another one. The bottom of the pack. Would you have expected this to take place tonight, Glenn?
No. I figured I was going to finish 4th, but your car breaks, it breaks. I've had it happen to me before in the NASCAR series. You know, I've set out a whole heater and a half during that, and that was, you know, here. So, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it happened to you, 3 races ago with your wires, didn't it, on the front of your guide flag?
Yeah.
But
Right, that's right. You know, this is an enduro. You want to stay on the track as long as you can, and keep your car consistent. Me and Bruce was down there battling for 3rd and 4th, and we finished 1 and 2. So, you know.
And what a race it was, because first and second was Paul and Tom, and they were battling within about 5 or so laps of each other.
Yeah.
And you and Bruce were battling within 5 or so laps of each other. And it's just, it's a whole bunch of things, but that's racing.
Well, it's the rabbit's foot in your pocket. Luck is what brought it for me and Bruce tonight. You know, we got lucky that both of those cars broke, and they were quite a bit faster than us. But you know, if something happens to our cars, all we got to do is go over and ask Paul or Tom, either one, and they'll help us out. So.
Yeah. Every one of these guys in here, ladies and gentlemen, at Lanes Raceway, every single one of them, the same way. If you need help, they're there. And I mean, Glenn, he's always here for you, especially for the guys just coming in and getting involved. Glenn's here to help. So we do appreciate Glenn. We appreciate even Clay here. I'm going to see if I can talk. Glenn, I appreciate you talking to me. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of Paul here. Tom, you got a second? What happened there exactly last week? So what happened with your car? How did it hurt?
Guide flag gone.
Had a lot of that here. Now, I wasn't really paying attention at that time. I was answering questions. Where exactly did you end up losing your guide flag at on the track?
Going under the bridge.
So it was a full speed come apart on Dead Man's Corner?
I know what caused it. Mossy has a really fast kick out, so it kicks the back wall back there, and they'll throw it out every time.
Then you ended up in somebody else's lane, and they full throttled you into Dead Man's Corner. I mean, that's not Tom, but I'll tell you, other than that, you were streamlining. You and Paul both fighting within 5 laps the whole time. I think you did the best that you could, being that you had mentioned your weight was being off a little bit and the trigger felt a little funny to you because of that. But I think, Sunday, you think you'll be back strong, ready to compete with these guys?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. Well, we're excited to see compete coming this Sunday. We'll get Paul Woozler, then we're going to end up ending the stream. Hey, Paul, can I talk to you real quick? Glasses on, working on these cars. He's already getting ready for Sunday. That's the dedication of Paul Woozley. He's going to get a picture real quick, and then he's going to come talk to us. We like to post our pictures on Facebook. Real proud of these guys and what they've done just in the past year. Haven't even been open a full year yet, and these guys are best. Paul Woozley, speaking of running best, you've come very, very close to putting the smoke down on Randy Kirtley. And I'm seeing every single time you race, less wrecks, staying on more, moving more fast. What happened tonight? Because you were in the lead by a substantial amount, and then all of a sudden you were gone. I don't even know what happened. We were sitting and different types of how long people's got to be off and all this other stuff. But I don't know what happened. So, I mean, inform me what happened while you went all the way down to 4th place.
Karma. You said if I had Thomas, I said, yeah, I think I got him.
Yeah. Every time I race with you guys, I'm like, I ain't coming off. I ain't wrecking. I never wreck. And then sure enough, I wreck. The only time of this is when Randy's out there racing and I throw on Night Train.
Knocked off, slid into black, and Glenn took me for a ride. Straight stretch, and I was coming around the donut, so I went for a ride to the wall.
Well, what happened to what broke in it to my
axle? Been an axle.
Axle. That's a big game changer. That's going to take you out for at least a couple minutes, right?
Oh, yeah. I was out for at least a couple.
Well, Paul, I'll tell you right now, man, it was some good racing between you and Tom all the way up to like the final 2 heats, and I guess karma kicked over between you two. And it was really good racing between Glenn and Bruce. They had the same kind of battle you guys were having. within 5 laps or so of each other. So it was good. It was like a split race, 2 versus 2, and it flops at the end. What a beautiful ending. Not for you, of course, but for all the racers out there watching.
It was a good time.
Paul.
No problem.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's here at Lanes Raceway. Thank you. God bless everybody for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you Sunday.